Giannis on the loose. Giannis. Giannis. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo.
Finals MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Considering what Giannis has accomplished in his career and the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks selected him with the 15th pick in 2013, the Milwaukee Bucks pulled off what could now be considered as one of the biggest steals in NBA draft history. However, at the time, a lot of people criticized the pick.
What we have, Reese, is the youngest player in the draft and the most mysterious.
A Bleacher Report article said that the pick was not a good choice. The article even went so far as to saying that drafting Nate Wolters in the second round saved the draft for Milwaukee. And by the way, Wolters played in just 84 games in his career and averaged 5.5 points per game. Admittedly, it's easy dunking on articles like this knowing what we know now. At the time, Giannis was just 18, was skinny, extremely raw, and hadn't played against top competition. But of course, he has since developed into one of the greatest players on the planet, and the fact remains that there were still 14 players drafted before Giannis. The Cleveland Cavaliers selected Anthony Bennett with the first pick in the draft. His weight and defensive ability were concerns heading into the draft, and many were surprised the Cavs elected to take Bennett first overall, although it's worth noting that there wasn't a consensus number one pick. But those concerns became reality. Bennett's athleticism that made him a standout at UNLV never really translated to the NBA. He was rarely in shape and seemed to not even care at times. He played for Cleveland for just a year before being traded to Minnesota as part of the Kevin Love blockbuster trade. After just 1 year with the Timberwolves, he played a year in Toronto and then a year in Brooklyn, and that was it for his NBA career. He averaged just 4.4 points in his 4-year career, making him one of the biggest busts in NBA history. Since then, Bennett has played in the EuroLeague, the G League in Israel, and is currently playing in Taiwan. The Orlando Magic came into the draft looking for a shooting guard, and they found a pretty solid option in Victor Oladipo. While he only played 3 seasons in Orlando, he performed well, averaging just under 16 points per game, and showed signs of improvement in each season. The Magic jumped at a chance to bring in Serge Ibaka and traded Oladipo to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a move that didn't end up helping either side. Oladipo eventually made his way to the Indiana Pacers, where he put up his best performances. He proved his defensive prowess by leading the league in steals in 2017 and 18, and went toe-to-toe in a playoff series against LeBron. He's since joined the Miami Heat, and although he has struggled with injuries, he looks to be a key contributor on a playoff contender yet again. The Washington Wizards took Otto Porter Jr. with the 3rd pick. Of course, he was part of the most recent NBA championship team, the Golden State Warriors, and he's been a journeyman role player in the later stages of his career, now playing with his 5th team in the Toronto Raptors. It was a bit of a bumpy ride for Porter in Washington. His first season was somewhat of a disaster, a year plagued by injuries and poor shooting. But to his credit, he steadily improved and became a full-fledged starter for Washington from 2015 to 2018, which represented the peak of his career. He's nearly a 40% career 3-point shooter now, which is a stark turnaround from shooting 19% from deep his rookie season. Cody Zeller was drafted 4th ahead of bigs like Alex Len and Nerlens Noel, and played with the Bobcats, which later became the Hornets, for the first 8 years of his career before joining the Portland Trail Blazers this season. In part because of injury issues he has faced over the years, Zeller never amounted to a star, but to his credit, he's remained in the league and contributed more to the team that drafted him compared to a lot of other players on this list. Turbulent might be a good word choice for Alex Len's time in Phoenix. While he played for the Suns for 5 seasons, he never lived up to expectations. Suns fans were expecting double-like numbers from the 7-foot center from Ukraine, but instead he delivered just 7.2 points per game and 6.5 rebounds. There was also increased pressure on Len beginning in 2015 as rookie Devin Booker was quickly blossoming while Len's development seemed stagnant. He was very critical of the Phoenix coaching staff, and whether that criticism was fair or not, he did have his best season with Atlanta immediately following his departure from the Suns. He's bounced around the league in recent years and appears to be on the way out of the NBA sooner rather than later after appearing in just 8 games so far for Sacramento. The Philadelphia 76ers were beginning the process.
Trust the process, my brother. All right.
And shipped their best player Drew Holiday to the Pelicans in exchange for the 6th pick and took Nerlens Noel. Noel had health concerns heading into the draft and missed his entire rookie season with a knee injury. He played in 142 games the following 2 seasons, averaging roughly 10 points and 8 boards a game, but As Joel Embiid was finally healthy and showing his potential for the Sixers, and Jahlil Okafor was also on the roster, Noel's time in Philadelphia had concluded. Philly sent him to Dallas in exchange for a first-round pick. Noel has been a role player on several teams since, and is currently with the Detroit Pistons, but he's consistently battled injuries and never quite amounted to what some thought he could become. A lot of scouts were high on Ben McLemore entering the draft, believing he had the most natural talent of any player in the class. The Kings were delighted when he fell all the way down to 7th, but unfortunately, McLemore never achieved the lofty expectations. It's worth noting that the Sacramento franchise was less than stable at the time, but it just never quite worked. McLemore played in every game his first 2 seasons, but struggled to score at times and didn't contribute much more offensively other than his points. The Kings didn't renew his contract after his rookie deal, and he's been a role player on 4 teams since, including a second stint with Sacramento. He is currently a member of the Portland Trail Blazers, but has not made an appearance this season. Detroit fans were mixed on the selection of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, considering hometown product Trey Burke was still available, and the point guard position was arguably more of a need than shooting guard. It took a while for KCP to get adjusted to life in the NBA, but he has since developed into a quality shooter who rarely misses a game. He wasn't a game changer for Detroit, but did average double figures for the Pistons. He signed with the Lakers following his rookie deal and was, of course, an NBA champion with the Lakers, and is now a starting member of the Denver Nuggets, where he is currently shooting a blistering 46.8% from 3. The Utah Jazz felt confident enough in Trey Burke to trade up with Minnesota and grab him at 9. Burke was slightly undersized, but was coming off an electric season with Michigan and was widely considered to be the best point guard in the draft. His rookie year was promising as he posted 13 points and 6 assists in 70 games, but unfortunately Burke really never developed past that point. Utah eventually parted ways with Burke after 3 seasons, and Trey Burke later made it pretty clear how he felt about his time in Salt Lake City.
I feel like I'm in a much better situation. Team that I feel like can definitely compete in the playoffs. I feel like, Washington is a better fit for me.
Burke played the backup point guard role on several other teams, including Dallas most recently. He was traded to Houston this offseason in the Christian Wood deal and hasn't played a game since. We have finally arrived at a player that not only met expectations but wildly exceeded them. It actually took CJ McCollum 3 seasons to really get his career going, but the 2015-16 season was a breakout year for the 6'3" shooting guard out of Lehigh, and he never looked back. I won't spend a lot of time on McCollum since it's pretty well documented just how talented he is and the star that he's been for nearly a decade. Portland did eventually trade him to Memphis last season, but the Lillard-McCollum backcourt was one of the best in the NBA, or at least the most fun to watch, for years, and his career has been remarkable. We're through 10 picks, and if you are enjoying this video, then don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Oh, and let me know who your team selected in 2013 down in the comments below. Did your team have a chance for Giannis? As a Pistons fan, yes. Yes, they did. Okay, so yes, the Philadelphia 76ers had not 1, but 2 opportunities to draft Giannis, but instead chose Michael Carter-Williams. Now, the picks certainly fit a need, as the Sixers had just traded Jrue Holiday away and needed more options at point guard. And to his credit, outside of CJ McCollum, MCW was one of the most successful players in the draft. He averaged 16.7 points per game in his Rookie of the Year campaign, but that number ended up being the highest of his career. In the midst of just his second year, he was a victim of Philadelphia's process.
Trust the process, my brother. All right.
And was traded to Milwaukee for a first-round pick. He was only a 26% career three-point shooter, and as more and more teams were looking to shoot more and more threes, his value started to go down significantly. He played for 5 teams across 10 years, but his career ended following the 2021 season. Okay, so full disclosure, I absolutely love Steven Adams, but it's pretty amazing that the 4th big man drafted in 2013 ended up being one of the best in the class. Adams is a physical beast who defends the paint and grabs offensive rebounds like they're going out of style. The Thunder enjoyed 7 years of Steven Adams, where he played nearly every game. Again, like CJ McCollum, I don't feel the need to take a deep dive into his career since he's still playing at such a high level, but it will be very interesting to see how far Adams and the Memphis Grizzlies will be able to go in the West this season. Kelly Olynyk became the 5th center selected in the draft and went to the Boston Celtics, where I still haven't forgiven him for trying to rip Kevin Love's arm off. That act hasn't stopped him from putting together a relatively productive career, and he's a much better shooter than the 4 big men drafted in front of him, which has helped him extend his career. He played for 4 seasons with the Celtics before landing with the Miami Heat for 3 years. Since then, he's bounced around a bit, but is now a starter for the Utah Jazz, is shooting the 3 at 43% and scoring double digits on a nightly basis. The Timberwolves took Shabazz Muhammad with the 14th pick. There were some warning signs heading into the draft for Muhammad. At 6'5", he was undersized for a small forward, but didn't have enough offensive skills to play an effective shooting guard at the next level. He averaged 30 minutes per game at UCLA and had 27 assists in the entire season. Those concerns quickly became realized, and although Muhammad averaged 13.5 points per game in his sophomore year with Minnesota, he did so in just 38 games. After mostly floundering with the Timberwolves in his rookie contract, he got a brief stint with the Milwaukee Bucks, but that didn't really work out either. In his 4-year career, Muhammad averaged 0.5 assists per game. Now, with the 14th pick, there's certainly no guarantee of a team finding success. However, Shabazz Muhammad and the Timberwolves front office will forever live in infamy because
the Milwaukee Bucks select Giannis Antetokounmpo from Athens, Greece.
So there you have it, the 14 players who were drafted before Giannis. Overall, the 2013 draft class was one of the weakest in NBA history, but there were a couple of hidden gems that were still to come in the draft. Dennis Schroeder was drafted out of Germany and has had a lengthy career. Tim Hardaway Jr. has shown exceptional talent and skill, especially offensively, and Rudy Gobert has been a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate for nearly his entire career. Still, there's no question that Giannis was the best player of the draft, the steal of the draft, and the scary thing is, he's still only 28 years old. His story is far from over. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then check out this video here. That's a video about the 2012 NFL Draft, and some of the stories from that draft are pretty crazy, so go check that video out, and I'll see you guys next time.
Antetokounmpo.
All I know is Giannis. I never tried the last name.
No.
Rookie.
Yoko Pico Bobomo.